Time to kill. XP, we're breaking the mold. Special guest, stories untold. Unfiltered truth, no hidden clues. No suit and tie, it's all for you. Out of the newsroom, into the light. No suit and tie, it's feeling right. Unscripted moments, the host is scary. On Next News Network, we never vary. On YouTube, we're streaming live. On Rumble, the chat is alive. On X, we're trending high. And mainstream media's dead, and we are why. Millions of followers, hear us out. Seen all over the world, there's no doubt. We are the future, shining bright. Join the raw feed every night. Out of the newsroom, into the light. No suit and tie, it's feeling right. Unscripted moments, the host is scary. On Next News Network, we never vary.
Good evening and welcome to the Raw Feed, the show that brings you the unvarnished truth about what's really happening in America. I'm Gary Franchi, and tonight we're diving deep into the stories the mainstream media does not want you to hear. But before we begin, I want to remind you that this show is more than just me talking at you. It's a conversation. We're streaming live on YouTube to millions worldwide, and we're also on Rumble and X, so follow us there. And here's the kicker. We want to hear from you. Throughout the show, we will be interacting with you, our viewers, in the live chat. Your reactions, your thoughts, they matter. They are part of the story that we're telling here. Now, I know what you're thinking. Gary, how can I make sure I don't miss a moment of this or my friends? Well, I'll tell you. Share the stream. Text it. That's right. Text it to your friends, your family, anyone who needs to hear the truth. Let's bypass the algorithm together and get this information out there. And for those of you on Rumble, what's up, guys? We've got something special. Send us your Rumble rants, and the best ones will be featured right here on the show. And subscribe to our Rumble channel. It is the best way to build our community together. Now, let's get to the meat of tonight's show. We've got 5 explosive topics that are going to blow the lid off the Biden-Harris administration and their web of lies. First up, the debate that has everyone talking. J.D. Vance versus Tim Walz. Spoiler alert, it wasn't even close. We'll break down how Vance exposed the left's agenda and left Walz stuttering. Then we'll head to the disaster zone. Hurricane Helene has ravaged the East Coast. But where's FEMA? Well, we'll tell you where their tax dollars are really going, and it's not to help American citizens. Next, the longshoreman strike that is threatening to bring our economy to its knees. We'll examine how these unrealistic demands might just backfire, pushing companies towards automation and leaving American workers out in the cold. We'll also dive into Jack Smith's latest attack on President Trump. It's 165 pages of desperation, and we will show you why, and of course, the narratives that are being pulled from it. And finally, the scandal that is rocking Washington. New allegations about Doug Emhoff, Kamala's husband, has surfaced, and the media is trying to bury it, but we will not let them. So here's the thing, folks. This show, this platform of truth, it is under attack. The same forces that are trying to silence conservative voices across the nation, they're coming for us. So we need your support to keep the show going. There are links in the description to donate. Every dollar helps us fight back against the lies and bring you the truth. So buckle up, America. It's going to be a wild ride. And remember, we're in this together. Let's take our country back, one truth at a time. This is the Raw Feed, and we are just getting started. Let's welcome you to the show now. Let's see who's in the house. Pothead Kenny and Ron and Ronnie and Trump America 24. Everybody's here. Rusty Strong. We got the Hawk. We got Bella Stubblefield. We got Darlene. We've got Shadow Watcher and Paulette Richards. What's up? We've got Sure You holding down the fort. Thank you to all of our moderators there. We got Sabrina in the house as well. Make sure that when you do leave your comments about, just saying hello, where you're watching from, and how you're watching. It helps us build a community here. You're part of the show. You are part of the Next News Network family. It's a family show. Rocky Stallone is here in Alabama. We got Peggy, Mountain is here. 19 Delta Bulldog Garage merch is in the house. Nunu 101 and Ronnie Waters and Margot is here. And Jeremy, what's up? Jeremy sent me a DM on X about gas prices. I can check that in a little bit. Jose is here from New York, the Demon State. We got Marcy in the house. We got Nunu, America's Sovereign Divine. Linda and Ronnie Waters, the conservative patriots here. Mr. Not going to say that, from Quartzsite, Arizona. We got Bobby in the house, Tim and Donna. Rick is here, the Hawk. Lisa and Shadow and John and Sabrina. Mr. RC51. This guy, I don't know how he does it. This guy comments on every single one of our videos. He's like the first guy to comment on everything. I don't know how he does it, but it's pretty wild to witness it. I see it all the time. I'm like, this guy is always like right there, front and center. We got Raymond there, Dallas, Call Me Troy, R. Ashland, Ida, Frederick, Wilbur, T. Others, Deb, Raz. We got Vinlago, Wilbur, Autumn, Armac, Billy, Keith. Joe is here. Lisa is here as well. Sean Bartolome is here. We got Chad and Masta Blasta. Rick Johnson, Steve, Turk, Kevin, Daniel. My goodness, man, this place is rocking tonight. Great to see y'all here. All right, we got a lot of news to get down to, so let's just jump right into it here. Because we got lots of reaction from the debate and some of the highlights, lowlights, I guess, if you're Tim Walz. And even Tim Walz reacting to some of his ridiculous statements that he made during the debate with non-answers, of course. All right, let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, what we witnessed last night wasn't just a debate. It was a public execution of the Democrat agenda. J.D. Vance, armed with facts and unwavering resolve, left Tim Walz stuttering and grasping at straws. But here's the real shocker. Walz, in a moment of either profound stupidity or shocking callousness, admitted to being friends with school shooters. Yeah, the media is in full damage control mode, but we've got the unfiltered truth, so buckle up because this debate aftermath is about to blow your mind. Now, check this out. Are you listening? Just as J.D. Vance dominated the debate with clear recorded facts, you need clarity on the road. Recent reports show drivers with dash cams are 60% less likely to be found at fault in traffic accidents. This easy-to-install dash cam, like Vance's debate prep, records every detail, offering collision documentation and 24/7 security with 4K Ultra HD night vision and loop recording. It is your debate moderator on the road. Don't let your driving record be misrepresented like Tim Walz's statements. Visit carvisionx.com for free shipping and bonuses. Protect your truth on the road, just as Vance protected his in the debate. Okay, so I think the debate can really be summed up with one meme. You know, you've probably seen this meme before in various iterations, but this is the meme that Vance dominated a shaking and stuttering Walz. There's Vance just tossing Walz right into the water. Yeah, we all witnessed that last night. Something else. And yeah, I gotta say, let me just I gotta say this. Of course, Vance, he's a great guy. Maybe I wanted to see like a Vivek or a Kerry Lake or even an RFK in that position. But last night, he really kind of warmed my heart. I don't know if it was the beard, but his beard's actually getting some play now. Yeah, they're saying it's toxic masculinity. But before we get into all that, I want to play for you. This is the school shooter moment was one thing, but it was the moment when he completely faltered on his position about what happened when he was in China. We've got the clip here. We're going to play it for you in case you missed it. But it's really worth watching again because I found it like I must have watched it like 20 times last night because it was just so destructive to his campaign. Where is it? Come on now. Okay, look, this is our new format. Just take it easy. I'm going to get it for you. We will pull up the clip. I just had it loaded up. Okay, yeah, I'm scrolling, guys. Just chill. Here it is. Tim Walz is asked why he lied about being in Hong Kong during the Tiananmen Square massacre. He says he grew up in a small town. Let's watch together.
He's been about that.
Governor Walz, you said you were in Hong Kong during the deadly Tiananmen Square protests in the spring of 1989. But Minnesota Public Radio and other media outlets are reporting that you actually didn't travel to Asia until August of that year. Can you explain that discrepancy?
Yeah, well, and to the folks out there who didn't get at the top of this, look, I grew up in small rural Nebraska, town of 400, town that you rode your bike with your buddies till the streetlights come on, and I'm proud of that service. I joined the National Guard at 17, worked on family farms, and then I used the GI Bill to become a teacher, passionate about it, a young teacher. My first year out, I got the opportunity in the summer of '89 to travel to China. 35 years ago, be able to do that. I came back home.
He's filibustering. He is running out the clock because he knows he has been asked a question that he has lied about. Disgraceful. I was watching this. I'm like, get to the point, man. Oh, you went to you rode a bike with street lamps and everything?
Home and then started a program to take young people there. We would take basketball teams, we would take baseball teams, we would take dancers, and we would go back and forth to China. The issue for that was to try and learn. Now, look, my community knows who I am. They saw where I was at. Look, I will be the first to tell you, I have poured my heart into my community. I've tried to do the best I can, but I've not been perfect, and I'm a knucklehead at times. But
You lied. You lied to everybody. You lied to your community and your constituents all this time.
Always been about that. Those same people elected me to Congress for 12 years. And in Congress, I was one of the most bipartisan people, working on things like farm bills that we got done, working on veterans benefits. And then the people of Minnesota were able to elect me to governor twice. So look, my commitment has been from the beginning to make sure that I'm there for the people, to make sure that I get this right. I will say more than anything, many times I will talk a lot. I will get caught up in the rhetoric. But being there, the impact it made, the difference it made in my life, I learned a lot about China. I hear the critiques of this. I would make the case that Donald Trump should have come on one of those trips with us. I guarantee you he wouldn't be praising Xi Jinping about COVID. And I guarantee you he wouldn't start a trade war that he ends up losing. So this is about trying to understand the world. It's about trying to do the best you can for your community. And then it's putting yourself out there and letting your folks understand what it is. My commitment, whether it be through teaching, which I was good at, or whether it was being a good soldier or was being a good member of Congress, those are the things that I think are the values that people care about.
Governor, just to follow up on that, the question was, can you explain the discrepancy?
All I said on this was I got there that summer and misspoke on this. So I will just, that's what I've said. So I was in Hong Kong and China during the democracy protests went in. And from that, I learned a lot of what needed to be in governance.
Governor Walz.
He learned how to be a good communist is what he means. Totally lying right there. And I was actually shocked that CBS asked the question. Wow. We got, of course, here's the beard thing. Yes, Vance's beard matters. This is from Politico. Vance is the first White House wannabe to wear facial hair in 80 years. Research indicates that voters see beards as more masculine. That can be positive to some, but to others, especially women, it can be negative, conveying aggression and opposition to feminist ideals. So now they're attacking Vance because he has a beard. What will they do next? Jack Posobiec says, second time he said, I've been friends with school shooters. What does he mean by this? I don't even know. I mean, the memes that came out of this were ridiculous. Even Donald Trump tweeting out and posting some of these memes. New York Times posting that Vance's dominant debate performance shows why he's Trump's running mate. They admitted right there, he dominated. I've got lots of media reaction. Wait till you see some of this. But here is, this is the clip. Insurrection Barbie says, tanked the Harris presidency.
Parents. I've been in that office with those Sandy Hook parents. I've become friends with school shooters. I've seen it. Look.
What did he say?
I've become friends with school shooters. In that office with those Sandy Hook.
That ended the Harris Walz campaign right there. Let's get into some of these reactions. Where should we go, guys? We've got MSNBC's Rachel Maddow claims, although J.D. Vance was very slick, Tim Walz beat him. Oh, really?
Bad moment for Tim Walz. I think the big picture takeaway from this is that one of these candidates is much slicker than the other, is a much more practiced kind of professional debate style speaker, and the other candidate won. There was one bad moment for Tim Walz in this debate where he got mixed up and embarrassed in answering a question about exactly what month he had been in China in relation to the Tiananmen Square protest. But then on guns, on January 6th, on Obamacare, on the economy, on blaming everything on the border, back again on health care, on abortion, on every issue on substance, J.D. Vance was very polished and very slick, and Tim Walz beat him on all the substantive points. At least that.
He was slick. Tim Walz beat him. Yeah, sure. Here it is, CNN admitting that Tim Walz bombed the debate. So going from MSNBC, or Rachel Maddow, we go to CNN.
I think there was a clear lack of preparation and execution here on Walz's part.
I think actually it's the opposite. I think he had too much preparation.
Maybe, yeah.
He had so many lines that he was clearly trying to say that he didn't listen and said when J.D. Vance said one of the many things he really hit Kamala Harris on, not Tim Walz, but Kamala Harris, he didn't respond because he clearly had things in his mind. I think the lack of interviews that he has done with national media, with local media, it showed. He needed more reps.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, J.D. Vance is much more experienced at this, at public speaking, at defending himself, at pivoting.
Yep. Definitely Walz won that debate. Marjorie Taylor Greene posted this. Find someone that looks at you the way CBS moderators look at Tim Walz. Yeah, it was a 3-on-1 debate. Everybody saw it. Drew Hernandez pointing that fact out. CBS girl bosses are muting J.D. Vance now to cover for Tampon Tim. Do you remember this moment? This was ridiculous. He had to fact check them when they fact checked him.
Apply for parole.
And just to clarify for our viewers, Springfield, Ohio does have a large number of Haitian migrants who have legal status, temporary protected status.
Well, Margaret, but
thank you, Senator. We have so much to get to.
Margaret, I think it's important because
we're going to turn out of the economy. Thank
Margaret,
you.
The rules were that you guys weren't going to fact check, and since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say what's actually going on. So there's an application called the CBP One app, where you can go on as an illegal migrant, apply for asylum or apply for parole, and be granted legal status at the wave of a Kamala Harris open border wand. That is not a person coming in, applying for a green card and waiting for 10 years. That is the facilitation of illegal immigration, Margaret, by our own leadership.
Thank you, Senator, for describing the legal process. We have so much to get to, Senator.
Those laws have been on the books since 1990.
Thank you, gentlemen.
The CBP One app has not been on the books since 1990. It's something that Kamala Harris created, Margaret.
Gentlemen, the audience can't hear you because your mics are cut. And just to clarify.
Now, what's interesting is this guy here, Brian, pull up the vert shot. After watching the vice presidential debate last night, this guy downloads the CBP One app to find out how easy it is to gain access into our country. There's no way to cross-check who I say I am with who I really am. Watch this.
After watching that vice presidential debate last night, I was curious just how easy that CBP1 app was to use. So I downloaded it. So once you create an account from the main page, you just have to choose if you're the smuggler or the smugglee. Then you just got to fill in basic info, first name, last name, all the basics. I don't know my gender yet. I'm still figuring that out. Now it's time to take a selfie, and passport or any identification is also optional. Then it asks you which state you're headed to. I said I didn't know the address. I didn't know the city. I just chose California, and then I added the first zip code that Google gave me for California. And that's it. I'm good to go. It does let you choose between like 8 different bridges to meet under. I chose the Eagle Pass Bridge to meet under. I just have to wait until noon, so a couple more hours to actually make my appointment. Now I know what you're saying. That's not you, that's Carlos Mencia. Correct. I was just trying to show you how easy it was to register. I'm just a white dude from Michigan. This took me 5 minutes. Someone who really wants to get into this country, get temporary asylum with open-ended expiration dates, they'll just use their own picture. I said I have no documentation, I have no ID, no passport, no license. There is no way to cross-check who I say I am with who I really am. All they go off of is the picture that you submit. After watching
that's how easy it is. And he got fact-checked for that. Now, there were a couple moments. Now, you heard him say that he was friends with the school shooter. Immediately after the debate, Walz apparently was hungry for some pizza, and he was asked about that question.
What do you think your strongest
Brian, you go, yeah.
I think it was a good debate. The public got to see a contrast. And I think the ending sums it up. The democracy issue is important.
The ending?
Governor, you said you become friends with school shooters during the debate. Can you clarify what you meant on that?
Can you clarify what you meant when you said you'd be friends with school shooters?
Totally ignoring the press. But the ending of the debate, we got some more reaction to. I'm going to get to that in a second. Megyn Kelly totally just trashing them. But we have, just bear with me here. Here is his reaction again with more
Question come up about.
Do you want to clarify the comments that you made about school shooters?
Yeah, and look, you got to see me. These folks know me. I'm super passionate about this. The question come up about school shooting. We're talking about everything except school shootings. And I sat as a member of Congress with the Sandy Hook parents, and it was a profound movement. David Hogg is a good friend of mine. You have seen me do this. I was talking about being people where there are school shooters, and I need to be more specific on that, but I am passionate about this. This one, for my wife and I, is just, as teachers, as parents, is so personal.
Oh, it's so personal. He didn't answer the question, though. He did not answer the question. Rob Dew, producer from InfoWars, posted this. These demtards love flailing on the ground like victims. No, Brian, bring it to the... You don't need to do this. The vertical shot. You don't need that. Only when I tell you to, please. These demtards love flailing on the ground like victims. MSNBC is now accusing J.D. Vance of mansplaining.
That might be the worst moment, like muting powers. And I actually think if you're a woman, that might be the worst moment J.D. Vance had, because he was going to mansplain right over that mute button. He was, and again, I don't pretend to know how everyone will react to this. I think that a lot of women in positions of authority that should command respect just by virtue of that dynamic will see themselves in some dude that disrespected them and talked over. I mean, there was a moment like that with the vice presidential in the Harris-Pence debate where she's...
I'm speaking. Yeah. All this, man, this stuff just drives me crazy. Watching these people all day long. Oh. But let's take a look. Okay, let's go to Megyn Kelly.
The moderators were not much better. They were a little better than ABC News. But J.D. Vance put on a masterclass in how to handle biased moderators and a lying opponent. And it was a thing of beauty. It was beautiful. It was like every Republican or Republican voter or person who, in this case, is rooting for Trump knows exactly what I am feeling right now, which is just, thank God. Just listening to a guy go out there and know how to raise the right points in response to the right questions, to not take the moderator's bullshit. It was really cleansing. It was just, you never see it. It's just so great to see. The moderators are gross. Margaret Brennan, not only do you desperately need some bronzer, you need to understand how to moderate a fair debate when you have half the country who's rooting for the other guy. She didn't even attempt to be fair. I mean, I'm going to utter words I never thought I would utter. I preferred Norah O'Donnell. Actually, oh my God. This Margaret Brennan, she used to have a reputation as being kind of like reasonable. Like she flirted with the Catholic right, the Christian right, and when you get on issues of faith, she could be kind of like normal. No. She's been in the soup too long. She's gone totally native over there at CBS News. You are terrible, madam. Terrible.
Okay, we decided to stop. We got Chris Cuomo here. Listen to this.
Right, and there is no doubt in my mind. However,
this is Geraldo. Forgive me.
There is no doubt in my mind. However, Governor Walz did in terms of sincerity, that Vance won this debate.
Does Governor Walz have a problem with the truth? No.
They were talking at one point. Vance wanted to correct something about how Haitians got into this country. And he was right, and the moderators wouldn't let him correct it. It's very interesting.
But at the beginning, the two issues driving the campaign right now are Harris has a big deficit on the economy, Harris has a big deficit on immigration, and Republicans were happy tonight and Democrats a little bit nervous that on those two issues, Vance carried it.
J.D. Vance is much more experienced at this, at public speaking, at defending himself, at pivoting.
It's the audacity. I agree with you that we're in year 9 and no one knows how to cover the audacity. The audacity is that someone should have said, stop it, stop. Are you effing kidding me? And they should have dropped that F-bomb, right? I mean, they should have just, this is the debate. This may be the only chance people have to see the difference.
There is no,
and we saw the difference. We saw the difference, and it was clearly J.D. Vance winning. Politico says J.D. Vance's facial hair is about conveying aggression. Everybody thinks J.D. Vance won the debate. Let's hear Laura Loomer's take.
Creepy. Tomorrow, when people go back and watch it, Tim Walz actually said that he is friends with school shooters. Very creepy. He's got this really dark demonic energy to him. And he actually said tonight during the debate that he is friends with school shooters. Why would you want to be friends with someone who tried to gun down children? I mean, the Democrat Party is the party of destruction and death. They want to abort children at 9 months old. And apparently, well, they want to be friends with school shooters. Don't take it.
Yeah, beyond disturbing indeed. Okay, this is good. This is really good. I want to show you this. This is a behavior expert analyzing Tim Walz with Dr. Phil. Let's check this out.
And okay, now the next one is China, Hong Kong, when he's talking about was he in Tiananmen Square or not.
Right.
And he said, were you there or were you not?
Right.
And what do you want to look for in that?
Oh, I'm going to look for the things that tell us we know he wasn't there. And this, I'll put all my money on this. And we're going to see fear, we're going to see panic, we're going to see shame. And the grief muscle as well. So we'll throw everything's in this one.
All right, let's take a look and we'll listen.
You said you were in Hong Kong during the deadly Tiananmen Square protests in the spring of 1989. But Minnesota Public Radio and other media outlets are reporting that you actually didn't travel to Asia until August of that year. Can you explain that discrepancy?
Yeah, well, and to the folks out there who didn't get at the top of this, look, I grew up in small rural Nebraska, town of 400, town that you rode your bike with your buddies till the streetlights come on, and I'm proud of that service. I joined the...
Yeah, as that head goes sideways, that's panic, because he's not sure how he's going to defend this. He knows the question's coming, so he's got something ready, but it's not coming out the way he thought about it. So he's got inner dialogue going on. He's thinking about it. That's why I see that head turn, those eyes get really, really wide. I know what that looks like. That's what's happening there.
Yeah, and you see the grief muscle again here.
Yes. Oh, yeah, the upside down horseshoe right there. And the rest of this is panic. We see his eyes doing this. That's panic. And this, yeah, I know. And these up here, usually we look at that and we say, well, that's disgust or whatever. But this is a panic mode. See how his head's coming forward and his chin is up like that? He's trying to get that out as fast as he can. And this is one of the only illustrations we see from him as he's talking. And this is the one that's come out further from his body than anything else, because he's tried to make sure I want you to believe me. You got to believe me. That's what we're seeing, the panic here in that. Wide eyes, grief muscle, and everything's far out.
Let's finish the clip here.
Guard at 17, worked on family farms, and then I used the GI Bill to become a teacher, passionate about it, a young teacher.
You said
Okay. You know, I spent a lot of time, as I said, in the litigation arena preparing witnesses. And we always prepared witnesses to tell the truth effectively. We never prepared them to lie or spin, just tell the truth effectively. And don't you agree that if someone asks you a question and you want to be persuasive, you should answer the question first and then explain it? Like, were you there last night? Yes. Let me tell you why. As opposed to, were you there last night? Well, you know, wait a minute. Were you there or were you not? Don't you?
I don't know why these clips keep stopping. Well, you get the point. Of course, CBS News, they came out later. One of their pundits said, the civility that we saw tonight may be a mistake by Democrats. Think about those words right there. The civility. They don't want them to be civil. They want them to be on the attack and caustic and toxic. Listen to this guy.
And I think the civility that we saw tonight may be a mistake by Democrats, quite frankly. I talked at the outset of energizing this base. I was just in Ohio, and many Democrats were livid about what's going on in Springfield. I think Walz missed an opportunity to really push the racial insensitivity there. There was a sense of trying to be affable, as John said. And I think what we're going to see from this point on is the civility being laid aside. And as we've said, from this point on, gloves are off, I think.
Yeah, that's what they want. They just want everyone on the attack. ABC's Lindsay Davis likens Tim Walz's debate performance with Biden's debate performance. That's just how bad it was. Libs of TikTok.
Effective, but I was struck by that as well. I think it was something that the team working with Donald Trump had hoped he had done during the presidential debate more than he did. J.D. Vance said it repeatedly tonight, saying, listen, she's had nearly 4 years to do that as vice president. Why hasn't she done it? I feel like that was really effective. But I think overall tonight, if you're an undecided voter in America, I don't know that you come away with tonight with an additional clarity. It kind of reminded me of the June 27th debate when Kamala Harris that night said of Joe Biden, it was a slow start, but a strong finish. And that's how I felt that Tim Walz kind of did tonight. You know, to use Tim Walz's own words, I mean, a lot about this debate tonight was weird. There were uncomfortable, cringy moments. But overall, I think my takeaway was something that Reince Priebus said on the outset, which was that J.D. Vance needed to come away as that humble, likable guy from Hillbilly Elegy. It seemed like he did perhaps get some points.
Yeah, no question about that. Okay, let's get the full clip here. Sarah Rose posting, hell is frozen over. Chris Cuomo bodies the CBS moderators for trying to fact check J.D. Vance.
Of a legal by
When they were talking, at one point, Vance wanted to correct something about how Haitians got into this country. And he was right, and the moderators wouldn't let him correct it. It's very interesting.
Margaret, but thank you, Senator. We have so much to get to.
Margaret, I think it's important
we're
because
going to turn out of the economy. Thank
Margaret,
you.
the rules were that you guys weren't going to
we're-
fact check, and since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say what's actually going on. That
Thank
is
you,
the
Senator.
facilitation of illegal immigration, Margaret, by
Thank
our
you,
own
Senator, for
leadership.
describing the legal process. We have so much to get to, Senator.
Those
We have
laws
so
have been on
much.
the books since 1990.
Thank you, gentlemen.
The
We want to
CBP
have.
app has not been on the books since 1990. It's something that Kamala Harris created, Margaret.
Gentlemen, the audience can't hear you because your mics are cut.
Well, there you have it. And look, Vance was right. Okay? There's nuance to it. But the bigger problem is why he was moved on. We've got so much to get to. Says who? You know what I mean? Like, what is the schedule here? So you have a list of topics? That's not what it's about. It's about how the American people can access these two men and the two theories and the narratives, and you got to let them have their speak, because now you created a story where you're the problem, which when they were talking.
Wow. Yep. Hell has frozen over. Chris Cuomo definitely laying it out there. Big time Trump hater, Jonathan Karl. Listen to this.
Why they've done it, but they've kept him. You know, but first, David, I got to say, I think that Walz did seem unsteady. And frankly, what I saw in Walz is somebody who has not faced questions on a national stage since he became the Democratic nominee. He was simply out of practice. I mean, I don't know why they've done it, but they've kept him out of the limelight. They've kept him away from reporters. They haven't had him do any interviews. And he was clearly unsteady through much of that debate. And in contrast, J.D. Vance was very smooth. He took the arguments not to Walz. He was very respectful of Walz, took it to Kamala Harris. You know, but.
And here's the moment. J.D. Vance is already at it, leaving the stage, leaving Tim Walz by himself.
As we watch important things. And that's why President Biden tomorrow is heading to North Carolina and South Carolina,
J.D.
and
Vance,
Florida and Georgia the next.
J.D. Vance has left the building, and Walz is just standing there like the loser that he is.
And here we see the vice presidential candidates there. Tim Walz standing a lone man behind his lectern. Ed, give us your last.
So, the aftermath of this debate has exposed the left's desperation. Even with moderators trying to shield Walz, Vance's message of putting America first resonated with viewers. Walz's bizarre statements, including his friendship with school shooters, his stuttering, and his outright lies about his past, were all on full display. While the media frantically tries to protect the Biden-Harris-Walz agenda, the American people saw what really happened. And now we want to hear from you. What moment from the debate do you think was the most damaging to the Democrats' credibility? Comment below. Wow, that was one hell of a show. Okay, let's get your real-time reaction to this. Vance 1 says, Dawn. Roger says, the moron with civility. Oh, these chats. The moron with civility wants to push race. I've seen him before, and that's all he says all the time. How much is he getting paid? All questions were biased. Climate change, abortion, January 6th. Country Girl says his wife seemed mad at him at the pizza place. Noble victory. Fredo thinks he's saving face. Nope, not happening there. Let's see. They wanted to talk climate change when we have so much bigger problems. Why waste time on the subject? Good question. It's because they want to push their agenda. George says Tampon Tim appears to be a CCP operative. That explains why Kamala Harris chose him as a running mate. Don says we stop giving our money to the government. We come together. We hold these criminals accountable. That's what we need to do. CHBR says, it's funny how Chris's flips and CNN doesn't sign his paychecks. Isn't that great? Red, White, and True says, you're still going to jail, Fredo. Boy, the mainstream media is trash, says Mr. RC51. Democrats live in the upside-down world as depicted in Stranger Things. Yeah, we're living in a circus world right now. Soundman65 says, Walz reminds me of... Come on. Ugh. Cartoon character Droopy Dog. Yeah, doesn't he, though? Millennium Man, the moment they muted Vance, he won. Interstellar Frequency. Vance said it clearly. The VP has had 4 years to help the president to act on behalf of they cannot. Nothing has happened in the last 4 years. How can we elect her now after this? Precisely. Okay, let's get to segment 2. As Hurricane Helene has ravaged our eastern seaboard, the shocking truth has emerged. FEMA, the agency tasked with helping Americans in crisis, is nowhere to be found. Why? Because they've diverted hundreds of millions of your tax dollars to illegal immigrants. That's right, folks. While American citizens are literally drowning, the Biden-Harris administration is handing out cash to people who shouldn't even be in this country. But it gets worse. Wait until you hear about the helicopter pilot threatened with arrest for trying to save lives. Now check this out. Are you listening? As Hurricane Helene exposes government failures, our national debt has surpassed $35 trillion. The U.S. is borrowing to pay interest, digging a deeper hole. Meanwhile, gold surpassed $2,400 an ounce. Smart money is shifting to gold and silver. If you have funds in a low-interest account or 401k IRA, call Global Gold Investments, America's leading conservative precious metals dealer. Get their free 2024 Protect Your Wealth and Retirement Guide. Call that number on the screen, 888-700-4148. Mention Next News for 5-star treatment and complimentary portfolio analysis. Visit IRAGoldproof.com. It's linked below. Remember, if you don't have gold, you don't have wealth. Okay. Leading report just 4 hours ago. Biden-Harris administration says FEMA does not have enough funds to make it through hurricane season following the allocation of billions in foreign aid. Wall Street Apes 5 hours ago. Everyday Americans are using their helicopters to bring aid to Hurricane Helene victims, and the Kamala Harris administration is threatening to arrest these people for trying to help their fellow Americans. Listen to this.
Area is, and it's now, guys, today's video was supposed to be of flying this helicopter back to the house, and I'm still going to put all that footage in the end of this video. But as you can see, Consuela is a little dirty. She has had a busy couple of days working hard, and she's no longer brand new, you could say. She's still in good shape, but she took a beating over the weekend, and I'll tell you why. And I didn't intend for this to be really a portion of this video. It just kind of happened, and I wore my helmet cam while we were out doing some disaster relief in North Carolina. Basically, on Saturday, I was with Maddie, my wife, and we were gonna go grab some dinner when I got a call from a friend up in North Carolina. His name's Rudy, and he said, hey man, we need some helicopters up here. The hurricane damage is really bad. And there's a lot of people trapped in the mountains. So my wife and I got someone to watch the kids. We loaded up with one bag and flew to North Carolina with no plan and posted that we were on our way. And by the time I got there, I probably had 500 emails and a ton of text messages. And my post had been shared thousands of times. And we were blown away. We're like, what is going on? How bad is this deal? So we get into North Carolina. We end up staying at Greg Biffle's house because there's no power in the Asheville area. So we couldn't really stay close to where all the damage was. We load Consuela up with water and fuel. Next morning, take off and fly into just some things that I've never seen before. And some really, really bad situations for people. Like, I can't really describe it well, but I have some videos on my helmet cam that I'm gonna put in this video. And I'm not putting them in there to try and grow my YouTube channel. I'm simply putting them in there to give you a perspective of how bad the damage in the Asheville area is. And it's not just Asheville, it is spread so far into the mountains of North Carolina. And these areas we're flying in are some of the worst areas to fly a helicopter. And you're I'm talking about the tightest LZs, sloped landings inside of tight landing zones. It was absolutely wild. Consuelo, my helicopter, just performed absolutely flawless. I didn't think this was the right helicopter for the job, but I had the ability to take insulin, food, water into the tightest spots in the area and drop them off and get them to people in need and then haul people out. Yeah, she got a little beat up. She got puked in. There's Chinooks and Blackhawks everywhere. There's a C-17 Globemaster at the airport, and they're working like crazy. Some of my friends brought in some sick helicopters. A lot of these guys just did an amazing job, and this flying is no joke. I'm talking no joke. So a huge thank you to all the pilots who were a part of it, and a thank you to Thoroughbred Aviation for giving me a safe helicopter. It's just been the craziest couple days of my life, and I wanted to share some of these clips. So let's get to that, and then we'll get to the original idea of this video, which is picking up my brain. This is probably the hardest landing I did. You got power lines there on the left, a house directly under the helicopter right now. This takes every ounce of horsepower the helicopter has, and we're also full of supplies. Now, we did calculate weight and balances before we took off for these flights, and you can just see how tight it is. This is where the MD 500 shines, and the residents were putting X's on the roads where we could possibly set down, and that was really helpful to spot where these guys needed help. And then when we would land, we would talk to them and say, hey, go clear a bigger LZ, and then maybe they can bring it.
You know, these guys, these are the real heroes. While FEMA is out there handing out money to illegals, you got real American heroes who are being told not to help their fellow Americans. Corey Mills, currently in North Carolina trying to rescue Americans, stating FEMA is largely missing in action because it's diverted resources for immigration resettlement. And wait till you hear what Kamala Harris has said about how much money is going to go to these families. But let's get Corey Mills first.
Observing there, Corey Mills, he's been on the ground there for days, helping to deliver much-needed supplies to those hard-hit areas and evacuate some who are stranded. As you remember, he helped rescue Americans from war zones in Afghanistan, also
that was that, you know, the people were wanting. And so we've delivered now about 5 tons worth of supplies, about roughly 10,000. We've actually transported about 12,000 pounds between the 2 helicopters that we brought in, much of which is the only place that you can get in is by rotary wing helicopter. So we've gone into Broad River, South Toe. We've gone into Banner Elk, Asheville, Burnsville. We've gone into Holler. We've continued to try and go to at least 5 or 6 different locations, either conducting search and rescue operations to drop SAR, to do health and welfare checks on family members who's gone missing, or even just doing distribution for Starlink systems so that we can get our missing persons report down. Because a lot of this, people just haven't heard from their family members for 2 and 3 and 4 days. We were able to successfully evacuate someone from Bailey, North Carolina to Johnsonville yesterday. 83-year-old man, yesterday was his birthday, was showing signs of heart attack or hypertension. So we were able to medevac him and get him out, but also delivering insulin, oxygen bottles. A lot of people, it's not just food and water and non-perishables, but it's medications that they're short on. So try.
Oh, man, this effort is amazing, seeing all these people come together. Maui families, if you remember, got $700. Helene families are going to get $750. Illegal aliens get $13,000 in EBT cards with $5,000 cash. Zelensky gets billions. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden absolutely hate Americans. Voting Democrat is anti-American. $750 for Helene families. FEMA has spent $640 million on illegal aliens, and now doesn't have enough money to respond completely to Hurricane Helene disaster affecting American citizens. Ann Vandersteel, she posted this 5 hours ago. One man pulled, she says, 1,200 bodies out of the river in Marshall and bagged them himself. That sounds like a lot. Thankfully, communities and neighbors are banding together, people keeping an eye on strangers, scoping the area. Now, She did get community noted on this. The current estimated death toll from Hurricane Helene is 166, and they say there's no evidence that one man pulled 1,200 out of a river. That really seems like a huge number. So maybe she has a different source than the people who decided to community note her. Biden administration announced they don't have enough money to help. Another American confirms he's been told, do not help Hurricane Helene victims.
48 hours, I had planned to go to East Tennessee, Irwin, Newport, and all that tomorrow. And for the last 48 hours, I've also been on the phone with EMA, operational people, trying to see who may need my thermal drone most and whoever I could assist better. And then I get a phone call and an email where we're being told to stand down. I've also spoken to rescue crews that are there right now. And it's one thing I'll say about social media. Most people know, and somebody knows somebody and they see somebody. I've had emails where I've had a woman named Laura ask for help. Her brother got swept away. They have a video of him being swept away, and she's just asking for help to get him. And yet we're being told to stand down. I have heard from people, Danielle and Alex, no offense to y'all, I've heard from these two people about how he went to take generators and supplies there, and he was turned down. The water, food, stuff like that, turned down. Why? You have people that really need things. And I get it. It's such a disarray. I understand this was all so fast. But at the end of the day, man, putting a halt to everything while there's people's lives at stake that are sitting out there somewhere that don't have anything, that may be trapped, may be hurt, and you're asking people to stand down that have the capabilities to help somebody, it doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't make sense at all. Americans want to step up and help their fellow Americans, and you got the government coming in saying no. Helicopter pilot threatened with arrest after flying rescue missions in flood ravage. You can go, Brian, you can bring it back to the after flood ravage North Carolina. Kamala's on the ground in Georgia 2 days after President Trump's visit. 2 days. Offering those who've lost everything $750.
Being met. And the federal relief and assistance that we have been providing has included FEMA providing $750 for folks who need immediate needs being met.
It's disgraceful. Absolutely disgraceful. Biden says he's directed the deployment of Starlink satellites in North Carolina. Didn't Trump already talk to Elon about that? Talk about copy and paste.
I've also directed the development of deployment of Starlink satellites. 50 are in place right now. More are going to be put in place so people in places like Canton can call for help and reach the ones that love loved ones who they're not sure with anybody other than that phone.
What? Yeah. Thanks, Joe. Ann Vandersteel, again, she's been on fire with these posts. What's happening in Asheville is a national disgrace. Kamala's on the ground in Georgia 2 days after Trump offering $750 to those who've lost everything. Mayorkas says there's no FEMA money for hurricanes because it's all being used for settling illegals. Kamala missed her hurricane preparedness brief for 3 years in a row because she never thought anyone would care. Joe attended, but not this year because he's too senile. The Hurricane Katrina. And Hurricane Katrina had nonstop wall-to-wall MSM coverage, but Hurricane Helene is being swept under the carpet. There is nothing about this administration that is American or even just plain right. Here is Kamala Harris boasting 7 hours ago. Just landed in Georgia where I'll meet with families impacted. No, you're not wanted. You're not wanted. You can see here Tony's posting. The people are furious. Not only is the Lake Leary, North Carolina fire chief threatening to arrest people for rescuing stranded Helene victims, but there are also reports Red Cross and FEMA confiscating local donations, putting them into a FEMA account, which prevents donations from being used for a specific disaster. This is shameful. What a mess. Oh, this is great too. Okay, so this clip here, you see, it's totally another staged photo op for Kamala Harris. And you can see the caption. Notice how Kamala makes sure the cameras are ready before she starts slumping over in her brand new crisis jacket. Now just watch carefully. Watch carefully. See, here she is. She's looking right at the camera. She's waiting for her cue for this staged moment. Watch carefully. You know what? Maybe we'll play it in slow motion. We'll play it at half speed. Watch. See that? You see that nod? Yep. Totally staged right there. It's all a photo op for this woman. Everything. Disgraceful. What is she going to do? Oh, here's $750. Drew Hernandez says, expert helicopter pilot and his son responding to citizens desperate for rescue. Mid-rescue, emergency authorities threatened him with arrest if he continued.
Cloud coverage is Lake Lure.
The cries for help from people stranded without food, water, or electricity hit social media soon after the flooding last Friday.
But my parents are stuck there. Their address is Banner Elk. They are in the first condo. If you receive this, please give me a call back. Thank you.
Sidham's phone started lighting up on Saturday with people begging for help.
I could hear the desperation in her voice. This is multiple phone calls I've received like this, voicemails, text messages, and you could hear people desperate for help.
Sidham and his son rescued 4 people on Saturday and spent the night in a nearby pilot's lounge, then decided to fly again Sunday morning.
I spoke with my son, which is my co-pilot. I said, hey, do you want to go back out and try to help today? And his response was, there's so many messages, I don't think we can't not go help.
Sidham and his son were headed up to Black Mountain. Flight tracking shows no flight restrictions in place Saturday or Sunday morning when Sidham flew through the Lake Lure Gap. But that was all about to change. The Sidhams spotted an older couple waving for help, then landed in what's left of their driveway.
Hey, I want you to let me get in. You step out and go out, help her in, put her bag in the back, get her strapped in. I'm going to take her down, come back. I'll take him, I'll come back, and then I'll get you, okay?
I originally left my son, co-pilot, on the side of the mountain. It was kind of unstable, so I didn't want to put more weight in the helicopter to lift back off. So I left my son with the other victim, and I was just going to take one person down at the time. And you could hear me in the video talking through with the victims and with my son what we're going to do.
3 minutes away, Sidham spotted a group of rescuers just down the river. He landed and found someone in charge.
Told him my background experience, law enforcement, firefighting, pilot. He immediately started helping with coordination. He gave me radio frequencies to coordinate with them on, set up a landing area for me to come back with the other victim. And in the middle of the whole conversation and then blocking the road off, I was greeted by the, at that time I didn't know, but Lake Lure fire chief or assistant chief maybe, and he shut down the whole operation. So at that point I felt like the conversation wasn't going any further. And again, he asked me to leave, and I said, hey, I have no problem getting out of your area. If that's what you want us to do, we'll leave, no issue. At that point, I asked him, what was the reason I had to leave them there? And he said, again, you're interfering with my operation. I just need you to get out of the area. I said, sir, I don't know where you were trained at, but I know how my training is, and I'm not going to leave personnel behind. I'm going back to get my co-pilot. He said, if you turn around and go back up the mountain, you're going to be arrested. Wow. I said, well, sir, I'm going back to get my co-pilot. I don't know what to tell you. And he said, I'm letting you know. And at that point, he waved for 2 law enforcement officers to come over and told me that again, if I go back up the mountain, I would be arrested.
He flew the 3-minute trip back, picked up his son, and left the woman's husband behind.
I'm sure he was flooded with emotions and trying to rescue other people, and I just felt that it was best at the time to leave. So I did follow his instructions, and I had a conversation with the female victim before I left, apologizing and explaining. She was standing there. She heard the whole conversation.
Unforgivable. Unforgivable. Rescue efforts being blocked. $750 for victims, photo ops. Look at this. People in western North Carolina have no choice but to evacuate by foot. The roads are gone. Older people who can't hike will starve or die of dehydration if no one gets to them. It's hell. I'm struggling with the reports of children being found in the woods alone. And here's another photo op. President Biden taking an aerial tour. That's what this all is for these people. It's a photo op. The Biden administration's response to Hurricane Helene is nothing short of a national disgrace. They've abandoned American citizens in their time of need, prioritizing illegal immigrants over taxpayers. FEMA's $640 million spending spree on non-citizens have left it unable to fully respond to this disaster. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris shows up late, offering a paltry $750 to families who've lost everything. This is not just incompetence, it's a betrayal of the American people. Now we want to hear from you. How has the government's prioritization of illegal immigrants over citizens affected you or your community? And remember, you can go to SamaritansPurse.org and donate if you want to support the rescue effort. My goodness. T says it's treasonous. Passam says our military should be arresting Biden and Harris. Mary asks, why are they doing this to these people? Why do these people still vote Democrat? These people are doing it on purpose, says Blessings from above. Threat of arrest if you rescue people. That's demonic, says Phoenix Girl. Candy says, I saw someone who posted drone footage and you can see some bodies. It was from a far distance. Unacceptable and unbelievable, says Ronnie. Raymond says that chief should be fired. Unbelievable. Yeah, what is your operation exactly? Bethany says this is pure evil. I've never seen, I can't believe this. Let's get to our next segment today. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, our nation stands on the brink of an economic catastrophe. Over 85,000 longshoremen have walked off the job, shutting down 36 major ports that handle nearly half of American imports. Their demands? A jaw-dropping 77% wage increase and protection against automation. But here's the kicker. These unrealistic demands might just backfire spectacularly. We're about to show you how this strike could accelerate the very thing these workers fear most, their own obsolescence through automation. Now check this out. Are you listening? As longshoremen face automation, you may need to automate your road safety. This dash cam is like having a 24/7 port worker for your car. Recent reports show that drivers with dash cams are 60% less likely to be at fault at accidents. While ports may shut down, this cam never stops working, offering collision documentation and security. With 4K Ultra HD night vision and loop recording, it's more reliable than union negotiations. Don't let your safety strike out. Visit carvisionx.com for free shipping and bonuses. Protect yourself from road disruptions even when you can't avoid economic ones. Now, there was a comment on our video yesterday about this longshoreman strike, and I replied because it really made me think. You guys in the comments made me think about this. And I said, yeah, these guys are going to make their jobs obsolete. You think about it. If they automate all the ports, and I got some video from China. Wait till you see what they do in China. If they automate all these ports, they don't need all these longshoremen. They don't need to deal with union strikes, insurance, all the things that go along with having employees. This guy said longshoremen will strike themselves out of jobs. I've seen it happen before. They cannot expect their wages and benefits to exceed or even equal revenue, but those union bosses will be sitting pretty at the end of this mess. They'll be counting money while they're out of a job. They will be replaced by automation faster due to this. Demanding a 100% raise is unrealistic. They turned down a 50% pay raise and are looking for 70% plus and a guarantee against automation. The strike will only push these logistics companies to more quickly implement automation and AI. These are far from the first jobs that will be lost to automation. I think they should automate all of it while they're in strike. Automation brings skilled jobs too, just different skills. Also, there's something else going on that is being covered up, as Houston Port has been cleared out for weeks and they just did the strike. Now, take a look. This is what's going on. This is China. The members likely have no idea that their union leaders are 100% in with the foreign dock owners. Workers are striking, workers are complaining, and the dock owners are laughing and smiling. They know the dock workers' days are numbered. Meet their replacements. Watch this. Look at this. Brian, go vertical. Look at this. There's no one driving that thing. There's no one driving it. This is 100% automation on the ports. This is how China does it. And, I mean, don't you think that these companies would rather have a couple guys in a room pushing buttons like remote control, video games, rather than dealing with people who are asking for insane wages? Look at this. Look at them. There they are. Look at the controllers. They're controlling it all remotely. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't want to see any American workers be put out of a job. The devastation of having 85,000 people out of work in this country is not something that we want to see. But this is the progress that's on the horizon. Right there. Now, Patrick Bet-David, if you don't follow this guy, you do need to do that. And he just put out this video. Before I get to that, the border czar Kamala Harris getting an early start on creating breadlines. October surprise, Kamala Harris embraces striking port workers. Owns any resulting economic damage. So Kamala Harris is on the side of the unions. And we'll play the threat that was presented that says we're going to have massive supply chain disruptions. Your holidays are going to be screwed. And Kamala Harris is embracing that. Now let's listen to what Patrick Bet-David has to say here.
About inflation, here's another event that could cause prices to go up, and what that is the East Coast port strike. First time ever, possibly since 1977. We're talking about an association with 85,000 members, the International Longshoremen's Association. This is the North American's largest longshoremen's union, about to strike after midnight tonight. I'm shooting it on Monday tonight. Let me tell you why this is important to you. Here's what they're asking for. Of these 85,000 members, roughly 45,000 of the workers are involved. They're asking for a 77% raise for the next 6 years. This is 36 ports. Roughly 43% of all U.S. imports pass through these ports. This is the first time they may be going through a strike since 1977, and they're worried because automation could lead to job reductions by 15 to 30%. And you should know about this. You know why? Here's a number for you. Watch this. Port of New York and New Jersey handles $240 billion of annual goods. A strike just in one of these ports could cost $641 million in one of the ports. The one in Virginia could cost $600 million a day. We're going to talk about that today. If you get value out of this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Okay, so why are they doing this? So the East Coast workers are saying, look, why don't you match our salary with the West Coast workers? They work 40 hours a week. You pay them $116,000 a year, but you're paying us only $8. $1,000.
I'm not sure what's going on with this today. Kamala's going to own this. They're going to strike themselves out of jobs. Here is the longshoreman talking about crippling the United States.
When my men hit, let me explain something to you. These people today don't know what a strike is.
Right.
When my men hit the streets, from Maine to Texas, every single port will lock down. You know what's going to happen? I'll tell you. First week, be all over the news every night, boom, boom. Second week, guys who sell cars can't sell cars because the cars ain't coming in off the ships. They get laid off. Third week, malls start closing down. They can't get the goods from China. They can't sell clothes. They can't do this. Everything in the United States comes on a ship. They go out of business. Construction workers get laid off because the materials aren't coming in. The steel's not coming in. The lumber's not coming in. They lose their job. Everybody's hating the longshoremen now because now they realize how important our jobs are. Now I have the president screaming at me, I'm putting a Taft-Hartley on you. Go ahead. Taft-Hartley means I have to go back to work for 90 days. That's a cooling off period. Do you think when I go back for 90 days, those men are going to go to work on that pier? It's going to cost the company's money to pay their salaries. Well, they went from 30 moves an hour maybe to 8. They're going to be like this. Who's going to win here in the long run? You're better off sitting down and let's get a contract and let's move on with this world. And in today's world, I'll cripple you. I will cripple you, and you have no idea what that means. No.
I will cripple you, he says. That's a threat. And again, Kamala Harris is embracing that. Randy Quaid, he posted that the October surprise is the longshoremen are going to rightfully F this loser president and his mentally challenged VP in favor of American jobs. Listen to this guy.
Jobs, good pay. These maritime industries, they come into America. They come from over there into America. And they want to automate everything and eliminate American jobs, good paying jobs that support families. And they have a medical and they have annuities and they have pensions. And we have a president who is he's not on our side. He's not for us. Where is he? No, I am going to show the world that we can shut down the world. We'll shut the whole world down.
Cousin Eddie, let him have it. Pete Buttigieg also weighing in. Okay, there was also this report that protests near the main entrance to the port of Baltimore turned violent.
We start the top of the hour this morning with a Fox 5 News alert. Thousands of dock workers are on strike, causing ports across the U.S. to close.
Yeah, in total, 36 ports shutting down, including the port of Baltimore. Melanie Allenwick is there right now live, and she appears to be telling us since this morning that it's been heating up there, and it hasn't been a pleasant sight for many folks, especially the drivers coming in.
That's right. So for some people, I think it might have been a bit of a surprise. However, this has been in the news that it could be happening for a few weeks now. So you can see the picket lines behind me here. And this is the main entrance to the Port of Baltimore, the Dundalk Terminal. And you'll see they're walking around the picket lines in circles. Now, Baltimore police were here earlier reminding the picketers that they cannot block the entrance to the port. The longshoremen walked off the job at 12:01 a.m. There was confusion and anger as picketers initially tried to stop trucks from entering, and it did turn violent.
I come here for 7 years. I pull the trash and the debris out of here for the Port of Baltimore, and the officer told me to come back and go in there to get out of my way, and they attacked me and broke the windshield and lacerated my face. Look at it.
Now, we don't know exactly what happened. The union members said the truck hit one of the picketers as they swarmed around it. We did see an ambulance come to assist, and we know that that gentleman did speak with police officers. Again, we'll let the authorities sort out exactly what happened there. Now, 45 members of the International Longshoremen's Association, 45,000 members. That's a big difference in a number, isn't it? They have all been asking for a 77% pay increase over 6 years. And
Pete Buttigieg says they want your share of record profits companies are making.
Here, the acting labor.
I do want to start with the port, and specifically, why is the president not stepping in on this, especially since you did take actions to step in with the rail negotiations less than 2 years ago?
Well, the administration, to be clear, has been very active here. The acting labor secretary has been engaging the parties. So has the White House, and so have I. What the president won't do is reach for the Taft-Hartley Act, because he believes that the right outcome is going to come from the collective bargaining process. That's something that has produced results again and again, not just for workers, but for our economy. I think one thing that's really important is you see the historic contracts that have been reached by the United Auto Workers, for example, and other players. We've seen historic wage increases and benefits for workers, and simultaneously historic profitability for companies. In other words, it's showing that you can do right by workers and have a lot of growth in those firms and in those industries. That's definitely something that the economics would support here. Over about a 10-year period, we've seen the ocean carriers who really control the business side, so to speak, of this negotiation. We've seen their profitability go up by about 350%. Over that same period, we've seen the wages go up by about 15%. So the workers are seeking to participate in that. We actually think the parties economically are not as far apart from each other as they may think. But at the end of the day, they're the ones who need to get to the table, work it out, reach a deal, and get those ports back open.
So this longshoreman strike is more than just a labor dispute. It's a ticking time bomb for our economy. While union leaders make outrageous demands, companies are eyeing automation as a long-term solution to avoid future disruptions. The irony is palpable. In fighting against progress, these workers may be hastening their own replacement. And where's Kamala Harris on all this? She's cheering on the very actions that could cripple our supply chain and drive up costs for every American. So now we want to hear from you. How do you think this port strike will affect your daily life? And do you believe that automation is inevitable in this industry? Comment below. Okay, let's get your real-time reactions to this story. He wasted millions with nothing to show for it. Buttigieg, how on earth do you pronounce that? No ports running, no trains, no trucks running. Here comes the dark winter Joe Biden threatened a few years back. Rusty Shackelford says, I'm surprised he's not calling the ports racist. Donna says the whole world's going to crap. Julie says Buttigieg is a joke. Do unions really think they're going to get a 75% raise? This is all BS, says Whispering Wolf. Biden unifying the nation. Yeah, right. No unification there. T says it's a scripted plot. No cat and dog food. 70% increase is ridiculous, says conservative Gen Z. Philip says, and I agree, Buttigieg is so full of it, Trump would have had this all settled. Ain't that the truth? Okay, let's get to our next topic of the night. And we got some important narratives we need to make sure we correct. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, the left's October surprise has arrived, and right on cue, Jack Smith, the DOJ's attack dog, has unleashed a 165-page motion file with more lies and distortions than a CNN broadcast. But here's what they don't want you to know. This is not about justice. It's about influencing the upcoming election. Tonight, we're going to break down this desperate October surprise, expose the real motives behind it, and show you why it is nothing more than a last-ditch effort to stop Trump's momentum. Now, check this out. Are you listening? While Jack Smith launches his October surprise, our national debt has surpassed $35 trillion. The U.S. is borrowing to pay interest, digging a deeper hole. Meanwhile, gold surpassed $2,400 an ounce. Smart money is shifting to gold and silver. If you have funds in a low-interest account or 401k IRA, call Global Gold Investments, America's leading conservative precious metals dealer. Get their free 2024 Protect Your Wealth and Retirement Guide. Call 888, that's the number on the screen, 888-700-4148. Mention Next News for 5-star treatment and a complimentary portfolio analysis. Visit IRAGoldproof.com, link below. Remember, if you don't have gold, you don't have wealth. Now, President Trump, his campaign destroyed Kamala Harris' Gestapo special counsel Jack Smith today. This is election interference by the Harris-Biden regime. Let's take a look.
Material that has now been made public right now. This is Stephen Chung, the Trump campaign spokesman, saying that the release of the falsehood-ridden, unconstitutional J6, referring to January 6th brief immediately following Tim Walz's disastrous debate performance, is another obvious attempt by the Harris-Biden regime to undermine American democracy and interfere in this election. Deranged Jack Smith, again quoting from the spokesman in Washington, D.C., radical Democrats are hell-bent on weaponizing the Justice Department in an attempt to cling to power. President Trump is dominating, and the radical Democrats throughout the deep state are freaking out. The entire case is a partisan, unconstitutional witch hunt that should be dismissed entirely, together with all of the remaining Democrat hoaxes. This again from a Trump campaign spokesman. Of course, all of this back and forth on redacted material that has now been made public from Jack Smith's investigation, born of a Supreme Court decision that said essentially actions by a president in office, you can't touch them.
No, you can't. And Trump on Truth Social going ballistic. Democrats are weaponizing the Justice Department against me because they know I am winning. They're desperate to prop up their failing candidate, Kamala Harris. The DOJ pushed out this latest hit job today because J.D. Vance humiliated Tim Walz last night in the debate. The release of this falsehood-written unconstitutional J6 brief immediately following Tim Walz's disastrous debate performance, 33 days before the most important election in history of our country, is another obvious attempt by the Harris-Biden regime to undermine the election. 60 days prior to an election, the Department of Injustice is supposed to do absolutely nothing that would taint or interfere with the case. They disobeyed their own rule in favor of complete and total election interference. I did nothing wrong. This case is a scam. Trump continuing. Whether now the fully debunked Russia, Iran, Ukraine, 51 intelligence agents spying on my campaign, impeachment hoax number 1, impeachment hoax number 2, or any other scams, this illegal action taken by the Justice Department, including their raid on Mar-a-Lago for a case that was dismissed, will end just like all the others with complete victory for President Trump. Make America great again. Special counsel Jack Smith's major filing in Trump's 2020 election case, unsealed on Wednesday by Judge Tanya Chutkan, has bombshell after bombshell, according to CBS News.
Your big takeaways from this filing?
Well, my number one takeaway is that it was actually uncovered. Trump has tried very hard to keep all this information from seeing the light of day. Now it is out. The cat's out of the bag. He can't try to appeal or keep it from being there. So it has an immediate impact as sort of an October surprise in the election. In the substance, we have all kinds of new evidence, bombshells, really a fusillade of shock and awe from Smith, starting with Trump statements. He wasn't in front of the grand jury, but people were who heard him. They've given many of his statements. They're all going to be admissible at trial. They show he knew just what was going on. Second, Mike Pence statements. Remember, he wasn't there on January 6th, but he testified to the grand jury, and he lays out really a chilling campaign by Trump to make him try to break the law. And finally, on the Pence point, two more things, actually, Major. We know that when Trump, and it's the evidence is there on page 75, when Trump was saying to the crowd, Mike Pence has to do the right thing, he already knew Pence had decided against it, meaning he knew the crowd would be completely riled up when they found out that Pence wasn't going to do it. Finally, the issue on law. Does Pence evidence come in? The argument here by the special counsel on page 90 of the brief is it should come in because Pence is basically acting in this exchange as the head of the Senate rather than as Trump's sort of second in command. And that's the argument why it fits in the Supreme Court's rubric.
So the left's having a field day because of this major unsealing, and couldn't come at a worse time, of course, right before the election. October surprise, perhaps. 160 what pages? The left is going to go through this line by line, and they're going to take out sound bites, and they're going to make headlines for this for days and weeks in an effort to continue to smear Trump over 2020 and January 6th. Which was an inside job any way you slice it. And of course, the left on Twitter, Ed Krasenstein. Wow, no one can vote for Trump after this. See, these are the narratives that are being developed right now. The new Jack Smith documents released by Judge Chutkan really say that leading up to the violence of January 6th, the Trump campaign literally said, make them riot and do it. There's no saving Trump's chances after this. Listen to this.
When it appeared as though the events on January 6th were leading to be a violent effort to overthrow the election results, one of Trump's campaign employees, also an agent, and a co-conspirator of Trump, literally said, quote, make them riot. Do it.
How much soy does that guy have in his system? And the commenter says, Ed is conveniently cutting off the prior paragraph where Jack Smith acknowledges the comment was made on November 4th in a text message between campaign staffers and is not even related to January 6th. You see how they're taking this out of context already to try to smear Trump? Several high-profile individuals have wrongly attributed the make them riot quote to Trump. However, the Jack Smith filing clarifies it was actually campaign person 5 and not Trump. Make sure you pay close attention who all are pushing the deliberate disinformation that Trump said make them riot. Jack Smith's brief clearly states it was not Trump, but P5. The new allegations by illegally appointed special counsel Jack Smith are tired and laughable. Nobody cares. Nobody sees your witch hunt as credible. Trump is winning, and you can't stop it. It's somewhat comical. This is all the left has left. Lee Zeldin says the Biden-Harris DOJ and Jack Smith are further ramping up an extremely aggressive effort to weaponize the justice system to interfere in the election. The left will try to kill President Trump, imprison him, bankrupt him, and Americans should not tolerate any of it. And here, listen, watch this. This guy, Jeff Clark, went over the whole thing. He says, as I digest this document, I will post reactions, but let me start with the first thing that jumps out at me. And this points to the illegitimacy of Jack Smith's entire case. The document is signed as pictured below. There is no mention that Jack Smith and his subordinates are at the U.S. Department of Justice. If you need any better indication that they regard themselves as an extra-constitutional fourth branch of government, they are no longer listing their institutional affiliation. He points out they list their address as the building that many DOJ alums call Main Justice. Presumably the name of the building is not used. I can tell you that a standard DOJ court filing coming out of Main Justice because In either variant of the building's name, DOJ would have to use the word justice. Now stop to think why Jack Smith might have done this. It raises questions of whether use of any Justice Department organ to go after a former president of the United States is constitutional and could comport with the Supreme Court's July 1st, 2024 immunity decision in Trump v. United States. There it is. He doesn't even list himself as part of the Department of Justice. What does that tell you? This whole thing is an absolute fraud. How convenient. They unseal this on the same day Kamala's husband gets busted for beating up his ex-girlfriend. Yeah, another distraction. Jack Smith's 165-page motion against Trump's presidential immunity case unsealed. Let's see how MSNBC celebrated.
5 pages. We've got some breaking news we're going to get to now. Jack Smith's election interference case against Donald Trump. Well, the judge in D.C., Tanya Chutkan, just unsealed.
She is overjoyed. Oh, man.
The special counsel's 165-page redacted motion on presidential immunity. Joining us now, MSNBC legal correspondent Lisa Rubin. It is 165 pages. We have had it for all of, I think, 4 minutes. We obviously haven't been able to go through all of it. Still, this was what we thought would be sort of a mini trial. Here is the evidence we have against Donald Trump in regards to what happened in 2020. Is there anything?
So now it's a mini trial. Now we have the evidence. See, this is all about putting it out in the court of public opinion to let the left-wing rabid media tear it apart and create false narratives like you just saw so they can keep creating new headlines.
So far that is jumping out to you now that we didn't know about before today?
Well, Katie, one of the things that I would just point out is that we obviously know who the government thinks Donald Trump's most important co-conspirators are. In this indictment, there is a description of 6 co-conspirators, the majority of whom have been definitively identified before. That having been said, one of the things that pops out to me immediately is how many people here are identified just by P numbers, meaning they're not people alleged to be co-conspirators, but they are people who are alleged witnesses or participants in the event. And there are so many of them that even on page 13, which is as far as I've gotten, there's a reference to P76, meaning there are at least 76 people listed in this description, this detailed recitation of the facts that the government wants Judge Chutkan to see relevant to her immunity determinations that we know are involved here. And many of these people are people who came from the campaign world. That's the other thing that jumps out to me immediately is just the identification of so many people from.
Anyway, MSNBC celebrating. They can't wait to go through it all. And let's see, we got Fox anchor Neil Cavuto. He was getting some crap today over this whole thing. Let's see.
On a busy news day, and we're trying to get to the bottom of it. Prosecutors right now are offering a redacted version of special counsel Jack Smith's filing. That had to be made public today. It was in this newly unsealed court paper. We're learning that former President Trump resorted to crimes in a bid to cling to power after the 2020 election. We don't know much more than that. A lot of this stuff was going to be coming out anyway. We're going to be getting the latest on that and a legal to look at what is being revealed here. And whether it's giving us any information, anything we don't know. The timing of this, of course, a little more than about 5 weeks before the general election.
So, folks, make sure your ears and eyes are open these next couple of weeks. Remember what Tucker Carlson said? We did that report. He said, make sure your spidey senses are tuned. Because the level of lies and disinformation and misinformation that's going to be coming at you from the mainstream media, from the Kamala Harris campaign, it is going to be like a meteor shower. So you guys need to make sure you have your discernment and you can see through these lies. And we're going to do our very best to help you to navigate through these next couple of weeks. This is just the beginning of October. And we've got a port strike. We've got a natural disaster. We've got this. It's only going to intensify over these next several weeks. And we're going to do our best, like I said, to guide you through this. So Jack Smith's October surprise, it's not just an attack on Trump. It is a calculated move to sway the upcoming election. This 165-page motion, conveniently released just weeks before Americans head to the polls, is a blatant attempt to manipulate public opinion. It's clear the Biden-Harris DOJ is pulling out all the stops, weaponizing the justice system to influence the election's outcome. But will the American people, will you see through this transparent ploy? I want to hear from you. How do you think this so-called October surprise will impact voter sentiment overall? Do you believe it will backfire on the Democrats? Comment below. Let's get your real-time reaction to this story in the chat room. What are you guys saying here? Rocco says there's going to be an orgy at CNBC tonight. Okay. Baluchness, they are desperate to stay in power. They're scared Trump gets to the White House because they know all their crimes will be exposed. Yes, they will. Aries Vixen, they're still using Fox News is corrupt too. Cavutos is a friend of Trump. Wait, is not a friend of Trump. Betsy says, assassination didn't work, so Jack is back. Mary Ellen York, typical sleazeball tactic. Publicize a big lie at the last minute when there's no time to respond with truth. My friend lost her race that way 2 years ago. This is like the Pelosi wrap-up smear. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. They can't even write a believable soap opera, Millennium Man. John says 0 police died on January 6. 190 were not assaulted. However, massive Trump supporters were ravaged and 4 unalived by Capitol Metro Police. Mass hysteria is contagious. It's what happened before the Salem witch trials. That's what this is, man. That's what Trump's enduring. Linda says, this is when all the truth of the Democrats working with the Soros family and the UN, it isn't true and needs to be investigated. Oh, wow. I'm a woman and I love neat beards and mustaches. You must be talking about J.D. Vance. Okay. Let's get to the Emhoff allegations. This is what you all been waiting for. Brace yourselves, America. The man who stands beside our so-called border czar, Kamala Harris, is now at the center of a shocking scandal. Doug Emhoff, the second gentleman, is facing explosive allegations of physical assault against his ex-girlfriend. But here's the kicker. Just days ago, the left was praising him for reshaping masculinity. Tonight, we will rip the mask off this hypocrisy and expose the dark truth the mainstream media is desperately trying to bury. Now, check this out. Are you listening? While allegations swirl around Doug Emhoff, it's time to take control of your own masculinity. V-Shred has uncovered a shocking truth. A common healthy food is devastating men's testosterone levels. It's not junk food or sugar, but something you eat regularly. The food drains energy, crushes motivation, and weakens muscle. But here's the good news. Cutting it out could transform you. And V-Shred's clients who eliminated it are building muscle and feeling energized. You want to know what it is? Visit sculptnation.com/NNN or click below to watch V-Shred's revealing video. Don't let hidden threats undermine your manhood. Take charge of your health today. Now, Bill Mitchell weighed in. If this was Trump, the media would be frothing at the mouth, reporting it as breaking news 24/7, saying the walls are closing in. Because it's Doug Emhoff, they'll just ignore the story and call it misinformation. Kamala continues to claim they're redefining masculinity, but does this look like leadership or abuse? Kamala's husband, Doug Emhoff, accused of assaulting a woman in 2012. Second gentleman reportedly paid $80,000 in hush money to his former nanny. This is another story. As part of a non-disclosure agreement. He wasn't prosecuted, unlike Trump. Yeah, Doug Emhoff's got some issues. Rebecca asked a good question here. Wonder if he slapped around Kamala. Wonder if he's got physical with her. Doug Emhoff forcefully slapped ex-girlfriend for flirting with another man in a booze-fueled assault after a date to a star-studded gala. And here is Jen Psaki. Second gentleman Doug Emhoff accused of physically assaulting his ex-girlfriend days after MSNBC host Jen Psaki said Emhoff was reshaping masculinity.
The role you might play, important part, or an interesting part of how people have talked about your role here is how your role has reshaped the perception of masculinity. And I'm not sure you planned on that, but you are an incredibly supportive spouse. Has that been an evolution for you? And do you think that's part of the role you might play as first gentleman?
It's funny. I've started to think a lot about this. I've always been like this. My dad was like this. And to me, it's the
important part, an interesting.
He's a soy boy. Megyn Kelly on the Daily Mail report that Emhoff beat his ex-wife. Interesting gesture there at the end with the hand in your face. This so-called always supportive woman actually smacked an ex-girlfriend.
This Jen Psaki clip that we showed you just a couple of days ago, and we mocked her for her ridiculous lapdog boot-licking performance when she had this guy, knowing he had cheated on his first wife before Kamala Harris with his child's nanny. Look, people have marital problems and they make bad decisions when they're married to people that they don't love. All right? However, banging your child's nanny and impregnating her is in a special league of its own. Whatever. He got through the marriage. He managed to somehow remain friends with that first wife, and he married Kamala. I think most of us would have left it alone if he hadn't then paraded himself out there and let the media parade himself out there like he was the ideal husband on steroids. Like he is the new version of what it means to be a real man and eschews toxic masculinity and should really be the role model for my boys and yours. F that. I want my boys to be like my husband, who did not bang the nanny nor impregnate another woman while married to me or ever. It's insane that they tried to sell us this lie. That was the context in which we raised, before I get to today's news, the following Jen Psaki clip where she interviewed the current second gentleman, the man who could be our first gentleman in a few months, on, I think it was Sunday. Watch.
An interesting part of how people have talked about your role here is how your role has reshaped the perception of masculinity. And I'm not sure you planned on that, but you are an incredibly supportive spouse. Has that been an evolution for you? And do you think that's part of the role you might play as first gentleman?
It's funny. I've started to think a lot about this. I've always been like this. My dad was like this. And to me, it's the right thing to do. You know, support women. When we lift up women, we support women, whether it's pay equity, child care, family leave, and all these issues that, this post-Dobbs hellscape, women should not be less than.
There's a pop culture phrase, wife guy, which you've kind of been known as. Are you familiar with this?
I've heard about it.
As called a wife guy, a proud wife guy? How do you feel about that?
Well, if I do something annoying to Kamala and she gets upset, I'll just show her that article.
Right.
Yeah, show the article.
Oh, it's an interesting gesture there at the end with the hand in your face, because that's the news today, that this so-called always supporter of women actually smacked an ex-girlfriend in the face. Either a smack or a punch. It was unclear, according to the Daily Mail's exclusive reporting, that this super guy who's redefined toxic masculinity actually beat a woman that he was dating prior to Kamala. The Daily Mail reports that he did not respond to requests for comment on the article. What does that mean? There's not even going to be a denial? I guess they'll get around to it. It's just an allegation right now, but let me tell you, take some time today to read that Daily Mail report because it's incredibly detailed. Incredibly. With several friends of the very successful attorney that he was dating, his alleged victim, going to the Daily Mail, providing records to the Daily Mail, speaking in great detail about the call that the abuse victim alleged made to them after he smacked her in front of other people, in front of French valets over there in Cannes, France. And no one's looked into this, I guess, other than the Daily Mail. Certainly Jen Psaki, I hope, wasn't aware of it when she let him get away with, "I've always been like this, a supporter of women."
Yeah, right. Oh, where is that Daily Mail article? I think we've got it here somewhere. Party of pro-women is fine with the fact that Dougie Doritos beats women. Kamala Harris' husband forcefully slapped ex-girlfriend for flirting. And booze-fueled assault. Laura Loomer apparently found the woman. And I guess this is her. This is in 2012. So here's the timeline of Doug Emhoff. 2009, he impregnated his child's nanny. 2012, he physically assaults his girlfriend. 2023, lectures us on toxic masculinity. 2024, hailed for redefining masculinity. Here is Trump advisor. Now, if you follow us on X, you would have seen this already. 7 hours ago, I posted this. Trump advisor Alina Habba torches Kamala Harris' husband, Doug Emhoff, over shocking abuse allegations. This is with Benny Johnson.
He's her lead surrogate currently. He is one of her lead surrogates. If you name surrogates for presidential campaigns, he is one of them. Listen, everybody has a past, and when you take this risk of going into a presidential election, you better damn well take a look at what you're hiding in the closet, what you have in your treasure trove, because they will find it. And it's sad to me that this is the way the world works, that people aren't more honest with themselves and saying, maybe I am not the best candidate because my husband has a past. If this is true of being abusive, I have no patience for anybody like that. And I'm most certainly not going to have patience for people like that running our country. If the women want to talk in this country about policy and about the men that are going to be in charge and making decisions for our bodies and for us, it most certainly is not going to be somebody who's put his hand on a woman. And there are very few things that are an Achilles heel for me. But if somebody puts their hand on a woman and they're supposed to sit in the Oval Office and help go to bed and give the president of the United States advice, well, that's very much a reason not to vote for her, because if that is who she selected as her husband, if that is who she thought was the best suited person for her, and that's somebody who's going to be giving her advice, I don't want that anywhere near me, my decisions, my kids, my family. And there's just I have no tolerance for abuse. When I say none, I mean zero. Zero tolerance for abuse. And you could get me to sound off for an hour on that there's a special place in hell for men that put hands on women. Don't forget who Joe Biden married. People don't talk about it enough. But who is Jill Biden? Jill Biden was married to the brother or something, or the nanny, and the same thing happened. There was, affairs and all kind, and then they died, and he married her. That story is so convoluted. You have to look it up. But when I heard that, I'm like, these are the quality of people. This is who they are in their private life. That's who they are. They're hitting people, abusing them, knocking up the nanny, and then hitting people and that to me is just beyond any level of comprehension that these people could actually be serving. And you know what? All I'll say on that, because I know what the negative commentary will say on Twitter. I know President Trump. I've spent years with President Trump. President Trump has been accused of so many horrible things, but these are not accusations. These are things that now we're saying have come out and are true. Well, that's a problem. And it tells you a lot about the character, what goes on in somebody's home. Look at their children. I always say that tells you a lot about who people are. And I think it speaks volumes, frankly. It's called having a compass, a moral compass, and that is lacking. When they flip-flop on their policies, it tells you there's no true moral compass. They're just trying to win you over. Like I said, paid actors. That's literally paid actors. So that's what I think. And look, the decision's so clear. Trump 2024, baby.
Amen. Harmeet Dillon says she's been a trained advocate and lawyer for victims of domestic violence for over 3 decades. That he hit one woman almost certainly means he hit others. While a partner at a major law firm, what does this say about all the enablers around him? Here is the Daily Mail article. Second gentleman allegedly struck a woman in the face so hard she spun around while waiting in a valet lane at night after a May 2012 film festival. One of her friends told the Daily Mail the woman called him immediately after the incident, sobbing in her cab, and described the alleged assault. Daily Mail is not naming the woman, who is a successful New York attorney, but will refer to her as Jane. Second friend said Jane, who'd been dating Emhoff for 3 months, told her about the alleged violence at the time. A third friend told Daily Mail that Jane first told her in 2014 she had dated Emhoff and recounted the full story of his alleged abuse in 2018, when then Senator Harris was in the news after grilling Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh in a Senate hearing over sexual assault allegations. The friends, who all asked not to be named for fear of retaliation by Emhoff, shared with the Daily Mail pictures of him and Jane together from 2012 and other documents and communication corroborating elements of the story. And here is the picture with Jane blurred out. Look at his face. He looks like a real jerk there. You could just see it on his face. He looks like he's an abuser. The shocking claims follow revelations by the Daily Mail. Emhoff cheated on his first wife and mother of his 2 kids around 2008, allegedly impregnating his daughter's nanny, who also worked as her grade school teacher. Emhoff admitted the affair with the nanny and teacher after Daily Mail published the story last month. All 3 of Jane's friends said she also told them about disturbing alleged incident during her relationship with the second gentleman, in which Emhoff nonchalantly admitted to impregnating Naylor. Nonchalantly. Emhoff told Jane the nanny accused him of causing her to have a miscarriage. According to friends, Emhoff did not say how he was allegedly responsible for the miscarriage, and he told Jane the nanny's claims were false. Second gentleman allegedly confessed to Jane he paid Naylor a settlement of around $80,000 and had the nanny sign a non-disclosure agreement. Emhoff was previously dubbed by Democrats as the wife guy and a mensch, a Yiddish term for an honorable, kind man. He's also spoken out in media interviews about being an ally to women against toxic masculinity. Oh boy. So the Emhoff scandal isn't just about one man's alleged misdeeds. It's about the blatant hypocrisy of the left. While they lecture us about toxic masculinity, their own poster boy for progressive manhood is accused of violence against women. The media's deafening silence on the issue speaks volumes, and it's clear the rules are different for those in the Biden-Harris inner circle. But the American people deserve to know the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it may be for the establishment. And now we want to hear from you. Do you think the media's handling of the Emhoff allegation reveals a double standard in how they treat Democrats versus Republicans? Is this going to impact Kamala's run? Is this going to end it all? Comment below. Now let's get your real-time reaction to this story. Jesse agrees he looks like a slime ball. Patriot Pete, I'm voting for Kamala for a brighter future. Sure you are. Millennium 75 says, this is worse than a soap opera. They probably tried to swap the paternity test with Maury to cover it all up. Scott Edwards scolded. They will say it's a lie and she needs to come forward. Jeremy says the only hands I lay on my wife are for giving her back rubs. As it should be. Let's see here. What else we got? It's going to be a bumpy road in these months, but just watch God. Amen. Keep your eyes on God. Let's take a look at the latest breaking news as it's happening right now. Get some latest news before we close out this show, find out exactly what's happening here. Okay. Well, here is Tim Walz running out today. He's out of his campaign bus. I don't know why. I think he's trying to counter any low energy claims. You know, Trump likes to say that. Here we go again. Doug Emhoff paid $80,000 in hush money, was never prosecuted. Helicopter pilot threatened with arrest after flying rescue missions. We covered that today. Dustin Waycaster is the Lake Lurie fire chief. How many people are directly dead because of his decision to arrest civilian rescuers? Here is publicly available contact information. You can see the number on the screen if you want to contact the town and make your voice be heard. Go ahead, pause the screen real quick, and you can write that down. Students at St. Louis University disciplined for a 9/11 memorial. Apparently, Andrew Tate is live. Should we tune into Andrew Tate? Let's see what he's saying.
I recently quit smoking. Somebody convinced me. What we're going to do today is I'm going to complain. Because the over and window has shifted, and now there's nothing really fun to debate or talk about anymore. When I first got famous 2 years ago, I'd sit here and go, women can't drive. And some dickhead would go, oh, yes, they can. But now I say women can't drive, and everyone goes, yeah, we know, Andrew. You've set the world straight. We all agree with you now, Andrew.
Andrew Tate. Urgent update. Government is not running any search and rescue missions. Mike Lee, the federal government's too big, too expensive because it's doing way too many things it was never intended to do. It's time to send most of the power back to the states where it rightfully belongs. Trump 2024, blank your feelings. Donald Trump Digital Brigade posting, crazy union leader is putting a chokehold on the U.S. economy. Remember that time Biden called Sisi of Egypt the president of Mexico? Yes, I remember that. House Judiciary Committee links Democrat policies to increase crime. Megan Rapinoe blasting a journalist for asking a player about giving Caitlin Clark a black eye. Former President Donald Trump exclusively told News Nation in an interview on Wednesday he would revoke temporary protected status for Haitian migrants living in Springfield and ensure their return to Haiti. Amen. Let's go. Europe is being held back by whiteness, claims a Soros-backed think tank. Yes, donate to Samaritan's Purse, specifically to aid the people impacted by the storm. SamaritansPurse.org, everybody. Make sure you donate. Let's see. 5 days. It's been 5 days since Hurricane Helene. Parents can't even buy food for their children. Meanwhile, I hope it gives you some comfort knowing that our government has spent over $17 billion in the last few days to fund foreign countries. There's no such thing as government funded. It's all taxpayer funded. Open border advocates admit J.D. Vance is right. Immigration increases housing prices. CNN's Abby Phillips admits Vance landed shots, questions Walz preparation. What CBS won't tell you, Tim Walz stolen valor and disrespect for National Guardsmen. They didn't bring up stolen valor. I thought that was interesting. But they did bring up the Tiananmen Square. Okay. I got more work to do, my friends. My work is not done, but we do have to wrap this stream. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've just taken you on a journey through the looking glass of American politics, and what we've seen is nothing short of astounding. We started with the debate that wasn't just a debate, it was a public execution of the Democrat agenda. J.D. Vance left Tim Walz stuttering, exposing the left's empty promises and bizarre priorities. Remember, folks, this is the same Tim Walz who casually mentioned being friends with school shooters. So just let that sink in. Then we dove into the disaster that is the Biden-Harris administration's response to Hurricane Helene. While American citizens are literally drowning, FEMA is busy handing out your tax dollars to illegal immigrants, and it's not just incompetence, it's a betrayal of the American people. We expose the longshoreman strike for what it really is, a ticking time bomb for the economy. These unrealistic demands aren't just threatening our supply chain, they're accelerating the very automation these workers fear. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy of job loss cheered on by none other than Kamala Harris. Jack Smith's October surprise came next. A 165-page motion that's nothing more than a desperate attempt to influence the upcoming election. It's not just about justice. It's about silencing the voice of every American who dares to challenge the Washington establishment. And let's not forget the Emhoff scandal. The left's poster boy for reshaping masculinity now facing allegations of violence against women. The media's silence is deafening, exposing their blatant double standards. But here is the thing, folks. This show, speaking of truth, is under attack from the very forces we expose. We need your support to keep fighting the good fight. There are links in the description to donate. Every dollar helps us bring you the unvarnished truth. And remember, sharing is caring. Tell a friend about the show, spread the word, because the more Americans who wake up to these realities, the better chance we have of taking our country back. This is the Raw Feed. We'll be back tomorrow with more truth bombs. Until then, stay vigilant, stay informed, and most importantly, stay free.